That's what I'm going to call it. The importance of self-forgiveness. I feel like a lot of times people push like, oh, you have to forgive. You have to forgive them. You have to forgive. You have to forgive. It'll hold you back if you don't forgive. Let me tell you, one thing that'll hold you back more than forgiving them is not forgiving yourself. It's a word. One thing that will hold you back more than not forgiving them is not forgiving yourself. So a lot of people, they get into law of attraction, blah, 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 love and light movement, etc., etc. That movement implies that you have agency. That movement implies that you have some form of control in your lived experience. So in order to say, oh, okay, yes, I have some form of control in my lived experience, that means that I take responsibility. I take responsibility for the manifestations that I see in my day-to-day life, okay? So when you have a bad experience, so what happened with me is like when I have bad experiences, and I had several, I wasn't so much mad at, we're going to go back to men. I wasn't so much mad. I mean, of course I was mad at men. I'm always mad at men, but, really though. Anyway, but it wasn't so much that I was mad at the men because I expected it. You know what I'm saying? Like, duh, men will be men. If you don't get that through your head, you just gonna go out there and get eaten up. So men will be men. So I wasn't so much mad at the men. I mean, yes, were they assholes? Yes. Were they, manipulators? Absolutely. Were they, very intentional about mind fucking me? Absolutely. However, I have to take responsibility for my self-esteem and my vibration at that time and the choices that I made at that time. And then not only do I have to take responsibility, I don't know what Star is doing. Star, stop it. What the fuck? So I have to take responsibility for that experience and for allowing that treatment. At the end of the day, it's a lived experience that I either attracted or allowed, basically. And it was so painful for me because for a while it was like I resented that girl, who was soft. I resented that part of me that was naive. But she's a part of me, you know what I'm saying? And so when you hold resentment towards your past selves, I think there's a girl on Instagram, I think her name is like Layla, I'm gonna have to put it in here, but she's like, all of your past selves led you to here, so you should be grateful for all of them. And that's something that I had to really embrace and understand, because I was so mad at myself. I resented myself so much for allowing the treatment. I resented myself so much for being so stupid and being so naive and falling for things and not seeing, the 3 steps ahead the way that those men did. However, in Atlanta, a lot of older men prey on young women, period. They prey on them to get whatever they want out of them. And so when you have someone who is, 20, 30, 40 years into their dating game, you know what I'm saying? And then you have someone who just got, out of college, experienced sexual assault in college, then had a decent, healthy relationship, still some drama in that, and then came to a big city with a lot of sharks and a lot of old men who've been dating and finessing women and, getting their lies together, getting their, practicing taking their ring off, hiding things. They've been practicing that for 20, 30, 40 years. And you put an innocent girl who doesn't have good self-esteem and, is fairly naive about the way the world works, and you drop her into that environment. And so, a part of me resented her, but it's like, certain things, you don't know until you know. Certain things you don't know until you know. And people are like, well, you could avoid. I mean, yeah, if you don't want to live, because my mom would be like, oh, well, you could avoid that by just not dating anyone until you find someone that the Lord has and don't sleep with them until you get married, and you could avoid all of that. That's not a realistic lived experience for me. it's not a realistic lived experience for me. So unless you don't want to live, you're going to have to go out there and learn some lessons, get hurt a few times. The difference between me and a lot of people is that they go out there, they get hurt a few times, and then they repeat getting hurt a few times, and then they repeat getting hurt a few times. For me, you only got to hurt me a few times. Once you hurt me a few times, I'm going to be so mad at myself. Back to self-forgiveness. I'm going to be so mad at myself that it's not going to take a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth time. Because the anger that I'm going to have towards me, not even towards you. Because again, I had to expect, that everyone is selfish, and you got to be selfish. And so when I expect the lies, when I expect the bullshit, and this is not based on attraction. Like, I create my experience, so I don't allow them, but I anticipate the bullshit from people because people are coming with bullshit. And we can love and light and kumbaya and law of attraction all the fuck you want. But just know, you can love and light and kumbaya all the fuck you want. But it's some motherfuckers out here that are preying on your ass. And yes, you can control your lived experience and you can keep your vibration high so that they don't impact you. But let's not be delusional. Let's not be delusional. Let's not get caught up in it and be like, oh, well, in my world. No, it's some motherfuckers out here that are waiting for you. So, we got to be real when we talk about these movements. We got to be real when we talk about these beliefs, because it's great. The fairy tale is great. And yes, there are affirmations you can do. And yes, I am a product of affirming myself mentally and verbally. I'm a product of choosing to control my emotions, which then led to controlling my vibration. I'm a product of that. However, we can't be delusional. Even though I know that, I can't be delusional about the fact that if I'm cute and young and people perceive me as naive, there are people preying on me. So back to self-forgiveness. So when I get hurt, I get so mad at myself because it's like, you let me down. He didn't let me down because he was being who he was. When you understand that people are going to be who they are. And if they're going to change, let them change outside of your life and present a new them to you. But don't try to work with them as they change. People are people. And if they're really going to change, they're going to go change and they're going to come back and try to present a new form of themselves to you. Now, whether you want to believe that, it's on you, because past behavior is a good indication of future behavior, but we're not going to go into all that. So people are going to be people. Men are going to be men, but it's up to me to have my back. It's nobody else's responsibility. Nobody else owes me shit but me. I owe me everything. So I had to adapt that mentality and just be like, hold up. I couldn't have known everything, but now that I do know how this thing works, I've got to forgive myself, because I got to get past this anger and I got to use this anger to do something. Because right now, this anger is not productive. Right now, this anger is just pain festering inside of me. Right now, this anger and this resentment is making me sick and is making it painful for me to have sex, because I resent all the times that I slept with someone I didn't want to sleep with, or I allowed somebody to finesse me out of it. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Sometimes I was talking about, I had a whole nother video on less painful sex, and I broke down some things that helped me. But at some point you have to say to yourself, why is sex painful with him? Because sometimes it's not the sex, it's the person. I need to go into a whole nother chapter about that. Okay. But I had to forgive myself so that I could use that anger and propel myself forward. Because when I was just angry at myself and resenting my past selves for not doing better, then I couldn't trust myself. This is deep. If y'all listen to this shit, oh, this is deep. If I was still mad at myself and resenting myself, then I couldn't trust myself. Because I was always reminding myself of the last time I fucked up. Oh, you remember, bitch, the last time you fucked up. And it's okay to remember when you fucked up, but you can't beat yourself up with your fuck ups. You just got to remember the lesson. You can't keep beating yourself up with the fuck ups. So I would go beat myself up with the fuck ups, and then I would have doubt. And self-doubt is dangerous, because self-doubt is what leads you to go ask all these other motherfuckers questions. And these motherfuckers is lost too. So you got self-doubt, and then these people is lost, but you got your own self-doubt. So you go and listen to them, and then your whole life gets fucked up because you got everybody's opinion. Okay, what was I talking about? So self-doubt is dangerous, and it hinders your confidence. And I needed, more than anything, everything that all of my fuck-ups circled back to low self-esteem, circled back to feeling like I had to be silent, circled back to me feeling like I had to be tolerant, circled back to how I felt about myself and my value. And I needed to get my confidence together in order to win. So I had to forgive myself, because if I didn't forgive myself, I would constantly remind myself of my fuck-ups. And I needed to trust myself in order to be confident in myself. So once I started to forgive myself and say, you know, hey, I know last time we fucked up. We learned our lesson. We're not going to beat ourselves up about that shit no more. We got bigger fish to fry. So the next time we see it, no bueno. We're not going for the shit. But we're not going to keep beating ourselves up over some shit that we didn't know at the time that we know now. Okay? We can't do that. So I had to have this internal dialogue with myself, which was like, hey, bitch, pipe down. I don't need you constantly reminding me of how I fucked up, because we supposed to be working on this confidence thing. And if we working on this confidence thing, then we got to have some trust. And I started listening to myself. I started listening to myself more. I started listening to myself. And once I forgave myself, I could listen to myself, and then I could listen to myself more. And over time, the dialogue became more clear. And it took me a minute, because I was still not sure, not completely in trust and in faith of myself. So I still had a few people in my ear. And then the universe, when I was listening to those people, the universe completely messed up those situations as well, and forced me to come back and listen to myself. Because, I was like, well, this does sound good. And I was kind of accepting some shit that I didn't need to accept and I didn't have to accept. And so sometimes in my life, I find that if I'm not deliberate enough and quick enough with cutting something off, something really bad will happen to disrupt that situation and force me to lean on myself, force me to listen to myself, force me to believe in myself, force me to refocus on my own voice and not on what this motherfucker's saying, not on what this motherfucker's saying, not on what this motherfucker's saying. None of that, all of that became irrelevant. But if you don't forgive yourself and you still got that if you got that self-doubt conversation going on and on and on and on and on, then you can't hear yourself and you can't trust that voice. And so if you can't trust that voice, then if you can't trust that internal dialogue that you got going on, then you can't be confident, because you're at war with you. Ooh, this is deep. You're at war with you, and people can feel that. People can feel when you're not, it's an energy. So many people I see in Atlanta, they go get so much fucking surgery. And it's like, okay, if you want surgery, fine. But they just get over the top, and they go get it for a man, and they go get it because they don't feel good, and then they let somebody else's voice, because that internal dialogue with self isn't right, because that internal dialogue with self isn't balanced, then they allow somebody else's voice to come in and manipulate the thoughts and emotions of self, and then they feel like they got to go get surgery after surgery after surgery to please that voice, that person, because they don't value self. So I found that I had to forgive myself, because if I didn't forgive myself, then I was going to be at war with myself, and everybody else is at war with me, so I can't be at war with myself. Do you hear me? Everybody else is not for you. They may be, but here's the thing, they don't have to be for you if you're for you. If you're for you, it doesn't matter. You can drown out the noise. It's silent. It's silent. Because it's a conversation between you and you. So when I see people, and that's what I'm saying, when I talked about my sugar daddy and how he was really into controlling my image and controlling me and mind fucking me, at some point I had to cultivate enough confidence to silence everybody out. Everybody. Even if they were the quote unquote contributor to my well-being and blah, 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 and they did this for me and they did that for me, everybody's voice had to be muted out so I could hear myself. So I could get my internal dialogue in balance. Because then when you do the forgiveness and you cultivate the self-trust and you have the confidence, nothing can shake you. Nothing can shake you, because it's like Eminem at the end of 8 Mile. That's the best part. If more people would watch that and take notes, their life would be so much better. It would. Because when you get that internal dialogue together and you already know your flaws, and you already know your fucked up shit, and you already know, this, and this about yourself, and then you say, hey, I understand that we got all that going on, but I like you anyway, bitch. Hey, bitch, I know you got some crazy shit, but I fucks with it. I fucks with it. I know you crazy. I know you not perfect. I know all of these things could be better, but hey, bitch, I like you anyway, bitch. Hey. Your number one fan gotta be you. But if you don't forgive yourself, then you can't root for yourself, because you still mad. You still got that self-resentment, and that self-resentment will take you out. Fuck the whole forgiving everybody else. If you can forgive yourself, it don't matter. it don't matter, because you take responsibility. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have some type of responsibility if you want to continue to have them in their life. In your life. But when you take responsibility, it don't matter if they take responsibility, because it's irrelevant. You understand that it's about you and you, and that it's always about you and you. It's never really about you and them as much as it is about you and you. So then it don't really matter. Oh, forgive them. Fuck forgiving them. Forgive you and fuck them. I mean, you know what I'm saying? If you want to forgive them, forgive them. But forgive yourself so you can be confident and you can have some balance, and you don't have to be feeling that self-resentment, and then, you're at war with yourself, and then you trying to act like you confident, but people can feel that doubt in you. And these motherfuckers, especially these old men, they've been studying this shit for a while. They can sniff that shit out. So if you don't get that internal dialogue together, and you want to hustle, or you want to be a sugar baby, or you want to get to the bag, or you want to, just know you going against somebody that's been doing the same bullshit. But the good thing is they keep doing the same shit. It ain't no new shit. They've been doing the same bullshit for about 20, 30, 40 years. So just know what you're going up against. But if you get your confidence together, it's not going to matter, because you going to say fuck it. You're going to say fuck it to all of them. And then they're going to have to come back. Because what happens is when you say fuck it to all of them, some people go and get their act together and they come back with something that really matters. You know what I'm saying? And you still be an asshole because men need you to. They don't understand. It's like when you start being nice, they start tripping. So you just got to stay crazy. Anyway. But if you get your confidence together, you don't even really need the game. I mean, the game is confidence, baby. Anyway, that's it. Forgive yourself. Take responsibility for what happened. Write down the lesson. Figure out what you could have did different. Look for the signs in the future to make sure you avoid it and never repeat it again. But forgive yourself. Bye.